Ladies and gentlemen, it is with extreme pleasure I present to you our final inductee of the evening. Please welcome Mr. Dennis Anderson.
That was a pretty good video for no more archives and y'all got to dig through there, man. I want to apologize for that, but we've been busy. I've been busy all year. The 30th anniversary's been a pretty big tour for us, and these guys called and they said that you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm like, oh really? Well, what is this all about? And I didn't have a clue that you guys had got this going. I didn't realize that it was in a facility as big as this, and the crowd that's here tonight. They said it's a growing crowd. There's, maybe 70 or 80 more people here this time than it was the last time. Well, that's a good sign. And, and we want this thing to keep continuing to grow. And I definitely want to be a part of it. And it takes all of us, to make the brand monster truck period out there that we have. From the very beginning, Bob Chandler. Everybody says, how about where's Bigfoot? And how you don't like Bigfoot, you don't run with Bigfoot. No, that's not the deal. I really don't like Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot, and I tell everybody that. That guy right there he was the guy that I was after. When I was home hearing about him, I couldn't see him on TV. I wanted to go, and I saw some video, those guys doing hill climbs and tug of wars, and all I could think about is my truck's going to be heavier than theirs, and I'm going to put a gearbox in it. I'm going to trick these guys. They'll never know that I can get this thing to 163 to 1 reduction, So I had this Huff gearbox put in my mess, and I could not wait until I could run with these guys, and it took me a long time to get there. I started out with Dean Moore. It was called Monsters on Wheels. He came down to a local mud bog, and we partied like a bunch of rednecks, and I was probably one of the craziest guys there, and everybody waited to see me show off, and I knew they did, and I showed off with pride with pieces of junk that, knew I was going to break it, hoping that there was a loader running that we could get it on the trailer, even in the mud bog days. And I got there and I run that old red primer truck. It was a 51 Ford with a set of 18 Ford 26 Rice and Cane tractor tires with an old 327 Chevrolet motor in it. Had a double reduction gearbox in that thing. I was pretty good about gearing things down and getting gear reduction because I sure didn't have no power. So I had to gear it down to get it. And what got me into, what got me into monster trucks other than, wanting to come, shake Bob up was, I was always inspired by tractor tires and trucks and tractors, and I was a future farmer of America, and I came right out of high school and got a job on a farm that was one of the biggest farm operations in the Tidewater area at the time, a really wealthy family. It was W. Todd Farms. And I remember the day that I pulled up on that farm and got the job. I gave his son a ride home, and his son used to beg me every day to give him a ride. And I'm like, hell no, man, there's no way. You live all the way down northwest. I've got like an eighth of a tank of gas. I'm in an El Camino with a 427 with a 4-speed with a 411 gear in it. I had a hot rod, but I didn't have nothing else back then but a gas hog. And he said, I'll give you a tank of gas. And I said, you'll boil it over? He goes, what do you mean boil it over? I mean all the way to the top. He said, yes, sir, absolutely. So I gave Gary Todd a ride home. We pulled up on Gallbush Road, and it was a big, beautiful brick 2-story home, and across the road was grain bins and tanks, grain tanks, and 4840 John Deere tractors lined up in combines. I was like, God, man, what a heaven to be in down here. And this kid was in school with me, and I've always treated him like dirt. And he goes in, he says, there's gas pumps across the road. I'm going to go in and get some keys, and I'll be right back. That guy ran in this nice 2-story brick home, came back out. He had a uniform on, pinstripe top, had his name tag on it, W. Todd Farms, and a great big ring of keys. That's exactly what I wanted right there, I'm going to tell you that. So he said, pull it across the road. We pulled it across the road. He fills it up with gas. I got a job with those guys. I worked the first 2 days for them for free unloading some wheat in one of their stock barns out there, and just got joking around with them, and I fixed one of their grain trucks. The clutch linkage had come off of it, and I got down and I fixed it. And he told his dad, he called him on the radio and goes, man, this guy, Dennis is cool, man. He says he can fix everything around here, So I was kind of the bum around guy. But I'm going to tell you right now, I wish that guy was still here today, because he was the guy that I got in a mouth fight with at the granary. And he bad-mouthed me in front of a bunch of employees after we were there for a couple years, and I was a little rowdy. I didn't want to take a bunch of junk because I knew that I could about jack him up, So I said, with a few choice words, I said, Gary, I'm going to take that old junk and dig you a grave, when he was talking about my truck. And that's when I took a can of spray paint and put on the side, grave digger. And everybody standing around that granary that day went, woo-hoo, old grave digger. And on my time card, this old black guy, his name is MC, he put gravedigger with a lead pencil up on the corner of it, and that was the coolest thing ever. That Sunday is when I spray bombed that truck, and I went down to the new lands back there, the new grounds. We made a big mud hole with the bulldozer. Went back, and there was about 10 of those guys down there. I hadn't seen that truck come out of the chicken shed yet. And I had Rice and Cane tractor tires with 57 inches tall. And those guys back then, the biggest thing they had was a 40-inch groundhog. I come strolling down that field path with that baby with that 327 cranking in it. And I had 2 gearboxes in that baby, too. I had a Granny Low 4-speed plugged into the back of a Turbo 400 so I could gear it any way I wanted to. I went down there in 2-wheel drive, rooted that hole out, ran over small trees, tug of war until I blew the rear end out of it, hooking onto 2 trucks. But I was the king of the day in that field down there with Gravedigger. And then as time rolled on, I was king of the mud, started crushing cars, and I got hooked up with World of Wheels, and I went on a tour. And that tour led me into the blue and gray. We went blue and gray for several years. Got the spooky paint job on it. Adam was born the year after I got the spooky paint job. I hauled that little guy around in an old broke-down bus. I remember building that bus right there in my yard. Built my own trailer, and I took an old school bus, and I took a Brigadier road tractor, old car hauler that my dad had, and put it together. I was so proud of it because Bob and those guys had those really nice motorhomes. I remember showing Jim Kramer, I think we were at Freedom Hall. I pulled up and I got him to come on my bus with me, and it was like the shaggin' wagon. That thing, I had carpet all around the side of it, but it was a neat rig back then, and I was so proud of it. And then after he stepped out of it, I was thinking, this thing is probably a lot cooler to me than it is everybody else out there, but I damn sure was proud of it, and I built a crib in it for Adam. It was incorporated in it, and that was one of my customizing pieces that I'd done. And I had Miss Larry make the curtains and make all the cushions and all that stuff, and man, I hit the road, and I thought I was living a dream at that time. I was chasing a dream. And before you know it, it didn't take me probably about 60 days. I figured out, damn, this is not working too good. I'm tearing up everything I get my feet on. But I worked hard, man. I was dedicated and didn't have a lot of money. I'm going to tell you right now, I would always call the promoters and started bumming money from those guys, getting upfront money, and that's when you start working for nothing until I started selling T-shirts. Started selling T-shirts. That's when I told these people, I said, well, now I've got 2 careers. I'm going to be a pro monster truck driver and a part-time cotton salesman, because that's what it was going to take to make it. And to sell merchandise, you had to love your fans. And I always tell my boys right now that, you love your fans, and they will love you forever. And you got to sincerely love them. And I do. On my interviews on TV, when I thank them for every nut and bolt on my truck and every shingle on my roof, I sincerely do mean that, because they made me. I'm entangled into a corporate world right now, but I'm going to tell you right now that corporate does not support that truck. That truck supports corporate, and it always has, because of the fans. I love every sponsor we have on our little stickers on the side, but it's nuts and bolts sponsors, and they all count. But there's never been a big corporate sponsor on that truck that took care of it. That thing selling merchandise and those fans putting tickets, putting people into seats is what that truck has done, and that's how it supported itself. And I haven't done it by myself. Everybody behind the scenes, I get the limelight, and I'm the hero because, I will run my mouth, and I'm not afraid to talk. I'm more afraid to talk in front of you guys tonight than I am in front of 70,000 people. It's easier for me to talk to my fans than it is my peers right here. But, you know, I just, you know, there's people that I want to, you know, I love and I thank. And a lot of times I'm thanking them and I'm loving them in my mind. And, you know, it's like my family at home, you know, that's, you know, Adam and Ryan, I didn't go to their plays. I didn't do their soccer games. When these boys started school, they couldn't go with me anymore. I'm just so glad that it's lasted long enough that, you know, the separation that we had in our family and then we got back together, that we've been able to come back together and we're still in business. We're still playing monster trucks and doing what we're doing today. And, you know, and I tell everybody I'm just an all-American guy living a dream, and it's really a true fact. But, you know, once again, man, there is so many people behind what we do now. It is totally unbelievable. I have a brick house that I used to live in, and when you come to my property now, I remember a long time ago I said, you know, when I get me another place, I'm not going to never put the shop in the backyard. You know, when I get ready to get away from it, I want to go home and get away from it. So I didn't. When I built me a big new shop that I always wanted, and that was my goal in life, I built it in the front yard. I'm not kidding you. And I'm going to tell you right now, that place has turned into a destination and a location for my fans and for tourists that come by there. And we thrive off of that property. It used to be farmland, and we harvest a lot more than those guys do off crop now with Digger's Dungeon, Digger's Diner. We got the kids zone. Adam's got his operation with the ride truck, and it's really flourishing. This was the best year of our career in what we do with monster trucks and what we do on our property. And it all stems from the whole world going around and, you know, us being on TV and all of the people making me who I am today. You know, it's like Pablo and Tina. You know, I used to envy those people right there. I'd go to their house. He always had his shop in order. Tina had that house in order. When you went in their house, you honestly would think that they owned Gravedigger. I didn't even have a picture of my truck in my house. They're married in the thing. You know, it's like, God, I mean, I wonder if they're going to take this away from me or something. I'd sleep at their house and lay in Pablo's recliner and look all around and go, wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I caught up with you guys. I want you to come to my house now. I got some pictures on the walls, and it's really, really, really cool. But, you know, I've had my ups and downs, and I've thrown in the towel and almost walked away a couple of times. And what has always brought me back is my fans, you know. And I told them in 1999, I quit driving that truck for myself, and I started driving it for my fans. And it wasn't a plan to drive it as long as I have. This is my 30th anniversary, but hey, life lives on, and I really don't think that I can do anything else. I damn sure don't want to drive a dump truck or run a bulldozer for the rest of my life. So I've gone this far with monster trucks, so I started with it, and I'm going to finish with it. But today, I want to tell you people, I am here to support what we're doing. I want to be a part of this museum, and I am going to start working on pieces and parts and see what I can get together to donate to this museum and the cause of what we've got going on here. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's I'm telling you, man, it's truly an honor, and I just want to thank each and every one of you, Jeff, Alan, you guys. I don't even know half the people's name. You know, Dean that owns the building here. Thank you very much. I don't even know if he's here, but man, you know, I just. I truly love what I'm doing, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to drive hard till 2017, and then I'm going to be trackside. I'll just run my mouth for the rest of my life, and I'm going to let the boys roll. I have a 10-year-old, and he's coming up, and I'm going to tell you he's going to be hell on wheels, and hopefully he's going to be one of the best guys in the arena, because these guys right here are the best guys in my eyes right now. Thank y'all.
Well, we've been really lucky tonight, really privileged. I think all of our inductees have done some amazing speeches, and actually it's made Kyle and I's job really easy, because they answered a lot of the questions I think we wanted to ask you and some of the stories we wanted to tell. But one that I'm kind of interested in hearing a little bit more about is what you created. You talked about the name Gravedigger, but it would be one thing if it was just a name. But the design of the truck, the body, the paint scheme, the red lights, all together created one of I think the most iconic, most memorable, most well-recognized monster trucks in the history of the sport. And just kind of talk about how that came about and then how that's been received over the years.
Okay, well, Gravedigger in the beginning was a 1951 Ford. It was a 51 Ford pickup. Then we went to the panel truck, and I was always a Chevrolet man. But, I got that 1951 Ford panel truck, the first one that I got that was blue and gray, and that's what Adam campaigns now. Of course, it's a remake. The body is anyway. But, the reason for the blue and gray, because I hadn't met Fred Buman yet. But I made up that name, mouth fighting with one of my buddies there. But, when we painted the truck, at the time there was no money. I was taking money and I had my own house trying to pay for it. But I got these guys that had a part-time body shop that was another farm operations, and I went over and talked to them. And I went over, made a deal, and I gave them $300 down, and I was going to give them $100 a month. For 3 months. It was a $600 paint job. And the guy that was down painting on the grain tanks that are still there today, Mr. Woody, which he's passed away also, he painted the lettering on the side of it. And he came to my old shop, and I had that chicken house. And no, I'll take that back. I had a brand new little teeny Quonset hut that I put up by then. But he came to my house, and he was a whiskey nipper, you know what I mean? So he came in there and he kind of partied with me a little bit, and he painted it and he done it for free. So that's why we had the blue and gray truck. And then we go to the spooky paint job. That's what we labeled it in the beginning. That's when I got up with Fred Buman, and I saw this guy's work on some Harley Davidson tanks. So I met this guy, and what a character he was. I'm going to tell you, he was definitely a spiritual painter. And you couldn't let him paint in front of the public at the time. You had to keep him head in the barn. But that guy sure could do some airbrushing, I'm going to tell you that. But anyhow, Fred created the paint job for me. And he painted the thing up, and I remember looking at it, come over checking it out. We're at Bruner's farm at that little farm operation. And it looked cool, but the front clip was just black. And I was like, man, we need something on that front clip. And he goes, well, we'll put some flames on it. I said, I hate flames. I don't want flames on it. He said, yeah, I'll put you some spooky flames on it. So everything else he'd done looked awesome, I'm going to tell you. So he put me some spooky flames on it, which was green. Put the green flames on it. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, that thing, when I went around there and saw that thing with about 4 or 5 coats of clear on it, it was the most beautiful thing that I had ever seen, and I didn't even want to drive it. All I wanted to do was be a show truck then. The top part of it was beautiful. The bottom part of it was a dog. I'm going to tell you that.
Well, that actually kind of leads into the next question, because when you did make the transition to the 66-inch tires, it was kind of when racing was starting to get pretty big out there, and we saw some pretty wild clips of the racing. The evolution's been interesting, because back in the day, they used to call you the one-run Anderson, because you'd go out there, go crazy on the first run, and a lot of times end up broke. And now, you fast forward 25, 30 years later, you just came off of a season recently when you won just about every stadium event you did in racing, 16-plus trucks. Just kind of talk about the evolution of racing and how important racing is to you.
Well, racing's important. It's freestyle is what everybody's waiting for at their shows, and I consider ourselves motorsport entertainers, but I'm still a competitor, and that's why I like to show those guys, because when you're out there freestyling, it's like you can drive the thing like a madman, and you can sling it all over the track, and you just kind of save yourself and crash it at the end. Sometimes I think people don't think that I can drive that good, because I wreck all the time. So I like to strut my stuff to like people that we have here tonight and the racers that race with me. In the fans' eyes, I'm driving like a maniac for them. But when I'm running that race to show my peers and my competitors that I'm badass. If you're going to be on it, buddy, you better get on it, because I'm going to be right there.
Talk a little bit about the kind of the technology development you guys have done. I mean, your story, you talk about early on not having a lot of resources to put into the truck, and now you've got a lot of resources to put into the truck. And the things that you guys are doing nowadays, did you ever imagine back in the early days that you'd be able to get some of the air and do some of the things in the trucks that you're doing today and have them hold up?
No, never had a clue, and we're working on it more and more because I'm telling you, man, it's, you get to the phase and the age in life that, you've watched this thing grow and you've been a part of it. And we get the trucks landing good and feeling good and, nice seats and getting clamped into that thing, man. And it's like, wow, this is pretty good. And then it's like now all the wise guys upstairs are going, well, by the way, we're going to raise the elevation of that about 2 foot. I'm going to cut about 4 foot off the bottom of the ramp. So, okay, here we go, another 5 foot in the air. I'm telling you, man, it's tough out there. But, one thing about it is we do have enough trucks out there that, when we run them, we can kind of we can live and learn by all of these other trucks, watching them making mistakes and parts breaking off of them. So we're refining and really kind of a test and tune thing, man. We got ledgers that thick on what to do to shocks, and I swear to God they work different on each and every truck and each and every driver. But it's from where it was and where it is today, I never had a clue it'd come this far. I knew that Bob and those guys, BIGFOOT team, that camp, they had it going on a long time ago, and they were way ahead of time, and we've actually caught up with those guys now.
Well, it's been a very special year for you, I think, and you talked about it a little bit, but kind of expand on 30th anniversary, what they did for you at a lot of the shows you were at, the whole history display, going through the timeline of your career, and just talk about kind of what a special year it's been for you, celebrating 30 years and now going into the Hall of Fame here to end the year.
Yeah, it was a wonderful tour. I'm telling you, man, I ripped out of the gate like a madman. I won 10 races in a row, and I got knocked off my chip there for one show. Then I jumped right back into a winning curve. But, when we came out, all I could think of was 30th anniversary. First thing people think about is, well, he's getting ready to retire. This is an anniversary. It's a celebration. And that's number one. Then number two is, God, he's an old guy. So you got to catch that from all of the young guys. So I told my crew and told my staff behind the scenes, I'm going to tell you right now, if you think that this old guy is going to slow down, Jack, I'm taking it up a notch. So you better be ready. And we were doing this flip-flop body. It was starting out with a purple body. I'd run it one weekend, then we had a green body the next weekend. So when we started loading up the our toy box and getting ammunition laid to the side, we started out and I had 13 bodies laying there. So when you got that stuff laying behind you, what do you think is going through my mind? I don't care if I scratch it. This thing, I'm here to impress the fans. And I'm going to tell you, man, and that's what we did most of the season. My season was really, really good. It was, I was really flying high until we got to the World Finals. Had a little dip there at the World Finals, but the encore still came off for the fans. Everybody enjoyed it, and 30th anniversary celebration was phenomenal for me.
Just one last question to kind of wrap up here. Talk about where your World Finals wins kind of rank in your career.
Sometimes I look at, when you listen to Tom Mintz 10 times, I don't know how many times he's world champ winner, it just makes me sick. But, it's like, I've been out there a long time, man, and I've won 4 of them. And I'm going to tell you, I think like the most emotional win was me when I was winning the racing. Because the freestyle, I figured that, that's my cup of tea. I got that, but I want to get this racing thing down. And, so I'm a 4-time world champ, soon to be a 5-time world champ. I mean, I still got a few more years left, but it's, it's the World Finals. It's a great thing. I'm telling you, man, I wish we'd done it at a bigger place so that we could have more fans there. The thing sells out too quick, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I'm on edge. I'm pulled in 50 different directions when I'm out there. It's exhausting. I'm going to tell you, when I get done with that thing, I am totally, totally drained. And I'm drained before I even get behind the wheel. It takes a lot to put it on, and I'm not the only one that's like that. All these guys, everybody that runs out there and runs a series with us, it's a lot of work. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, it's I'm going to have to tell these guys, y'all going to have to make me a cot in the back room and leave me alone for a while. Let me get some power naps if you want me to come play. But it's, World Finals, man, it's a great place, and, people do love it, man, and it's going to live on.
Well, Dennis, it's been a pleasure. Fans, let's welcome, and one more time for Dennis Anderson, Hall of Famer 2012.